You know what's insane? Most people think that keeping their money in the bank is safe, like, I've got a savings account, I'm good. But let's get brutally honest for a second, because while your money is sitting in that account earning 0.01% interest and feeling proud of itself, inflation is outside, kicking down the door, looting your purchasing power, and setting your financial future on fire. Meanwhile, the bank? They're not just holding your money, they're using it, lending it out, earning massive returns. And you're getting crumbs, if that. So the real question is, if banks aren't the safe haven we thought they were, where should you keep your money? What assets actually protect your wealth, especially when the economy is shaky, the dollar is weakening, and the rules keep changing? In this video, I'm going to walk you through 8 powerful assets that are smarter and safer than cash in a bank account. Some of these will surprise you. And number 8? Most people overlook it completely. But it might just be the one thing that changes your financial future forever. So make sure you stick around till the end. This video is not financial advice, just one brutally honest message from your internet friend who doesn't want to see your savings melt while the banks laugh all the way to their offshore holdings. If you're serious about protecting your money, comment below. I won't let the bank win. I'll heart your comment to let you know I see you. Now, let's dive into the first asset that's safer than cash. Asset 1. U.S. Treasury bonds and I-bonds. They're not flashy, they don't go viral, and you won't hear your favorite finance influencer hyping them up with laser eyes and rocket emojis, but that's exactly what makes them powerful. In a world obsessed with speed, hype, and overnight gains, U.S. Treasury bonds, especially I-bonds, quietly do what your savings account only pretends to do: protect your purchasing power. Let's be real. Your bank account might look nice on payday, but what happens next? Inflation steps in, fees nibble away, and you're left wondering how your dollars shrank without even moving. I-bonds, on the other hand, are built for one purpose: to move with inflation, not against it. They adjust every 6 months based on the official inflation rate. That means while your bank gives you 0.001% interest, these bonds can give you returns that actually matter. And here's the part that really stings if you've been trusting your savings to the big banks. Treasury bonds are backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. Now, say what you want about politics, but when things hit the fan, the U.S. government still has a better chance of paying you back than your local bank in a liquidity crisis. During times of panic, crashes, and financial uncertainty, money floods into government bonds. Why? Because big players, pension funds, and even global investors know one thing: when the game gets shaky, you run to safety, not speed. And these bonds, while not exciting, are the definition of safety. If your cash is just sitting in a bank doing nothing, it's not just being lazy, it's dying. U.S. Treasury bonds don't scream for attention. They don't need to, because unlike your savings account, they're actually doing the job you thought your bank was doing: protecting your wealth, quietly, consistently, safely. Asset 2. Income-producing real estate. Let's put it simply. Your bank gives you 1% if you're lucky, maybe 3% if you tie your money up in some complicated savings product with fine print longer than your lease. But income-producing real estate, that's in a completely different league. We're talking 8 to 12% annual returns, not even counting appreciation. And here's the real kicker: someone else is paying off your mortgage while your asset quietly climbs in value. That someone? Your tenant. This isn't fantasy. It's the quiet power of leverage, cash flow, and ownership working together behind the scenes. While most people clock in, trade time for money, and hope their paycheck clears, the savvy few let properties do the heavy lifting. A well-bought rental unit doesn't just pay you monthly. It appreciates, protects you from inflation, gives you tax benefits, and provides real, tangible value. It's shelter. It's land. It's leverage that works even when you're asleep. And don't get it twisted. This isn't about becoming a landlord with a plunger in one hand and eviction notices in the other. It's about systems, property managers, long-term leases. Knowing how to run your real estate like a business, not a side hobby. Because when you play it smart, real estate becomes one of the only assets that generates cash flow, grows in value, and allows you to use other people's money and time to build your wealth. The best part? In times of economic uncertainty, people still need a place to live. Housing isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. While stock markets swing and currencies shake, real estate stands firm. It might not feel exciting in the short term, but over decades, it's the steady engine that turns average earners into quiet millionaires. Your savings account isn't going to do that, but that little duplex down the street just might. Asset 3. Gold and silver. Before there were banks, before there were stocks, before anyone even dreamed of fiat currency backed by promises, there was gold. There was silver, the original safe havens. These metals have outlived empires, weathered depressions, and stayed standing while currencies around them collapsed into worthless paper. Why? Because no matter how chaotic the world gets, gold and silver hold something paper money never will: intrinsic value. You can't print more gold. You can't inflate silver. They don't obey interest rates or central bank policy. They don't crash when a tweet goes viral or when a CEO gets exposed. They simply exist. Finite, real, and universally trusted. And when things go sideways, when the stock market freefalls, banks freeze withdrawals, or inflation starts eating everything in sight, guess where people run? They don't run to the bank. They run to hard money. Look back at every major economic collapse. One constant pattern emerges. Those who held precious metals survived with dignity. In some cases, they thrived. Gold isn't just a shiny rock. It's a financial insurance policy that's been proven for thousands of years. It has no counterparty risk. It doesn't rely on someone else to keep its promise. It is the promise. And silver? It's the underdog of the two, more affordable, more volatile, but with just as much power when everything else fails. It's not just metal, it's a mirror of the monetary system's instability. When the system starts to shake, silver tends to surge. Your savings account? It's bleeding value quietly, invisibly. But gold and silver, they stand still while everything else wobbles. They don't care about your country's GDP or your bank's balance sheet. They just are. And when it matters most, that's exactly what you want. Something real. Something that lasts. Something that doesn't care who's in office, what rates are, or what debt ceiling we're pretending not to hit this year. Gold and silver don't need to say a word. Their value does the talking. Asset 4. Productive businesses. Your cash in the bank is like an employee who shows up late, takes long breaks, and demands a raise every year just to keep losing you money. It doesn't grow, it doesn't hustle, and it definitely doesn't protect you from inflation. But a productive business, that's a whole different story. A business isn't just a container for your money, it's a machine. One that turns ideas into income, effort into equity, and risk into results. The rich don't park their cash in savings accounts, they deploy it into businesses. Because they understand something most people miss. A business doesn't just make money once. It makes money over and over again. Every product sold, every client served, every system built, it's all part of a financial engine that keeps turning, even when you're asleep. It's value creation on autopilot. And no, this isn't about opening a brick-and-mortar shop on a street corner and praying for customers. This is about understanding leverage. A digital product, a service-based side hustle, an e-commerce store, a consulting brand, a content channel that monetizes attention. Whatever shape it takes, a productive business does one thing your savings account will never do. It compounds. Not just interest, but value, reach, and impact. The beauty is this: you can start small. Most successful businesses didn't begin with millions. They started with a skill, a problem to solve, and the discipline to keep going when things got messy. And when you own the business, you own the upside. That's where freedom lives. Not in working more hours, but in building something that runs without you. So, while others are hoarding cash and hoping for interest, the wealthy are building systems, stacking assets, and earning from things they own. A business doesn't just keep your money safe, it multiplies it. And in a world where cash dies quietly, building a business might just be the loudest way to stay free. Asset 5. Bitcoin. Digital gold. Bitcoin didn't ask for permission. It didn't come from a central bank, a government, or a corporate boardroom. It was born from a white paper, launched by an unknown genius, and set loose into a world where trust in traditional finance was collapsing. And in a little over a decade, it's done something remarkable. It became the loudest rebellion against inflation, manipulation, and financial control that this generation has ever seen. With a hard cap of 21 million coins, Bitcoin isn't just digital currency, it's digital scarcity. The dollar? It gets printed at will. Bitcoin? Not a single extra unit can ever exist. It's coded in. Immutable. Deflationary by design. And that changes everything. You don't need a bank to hold it. You don't need a broker to buy it. And no government can freeze it with the stroke of a pen. It exists outside the system, exactly where your savings might need to be if the system ever turns against you. Because, let's be honest, if the last few years taught us anything, it's that what we thought was secure can vanish in a headline. Yes, Bitcoin is volatile. Yes, it's been called a bubble, a scam, a gamble. But take a step back and look at what it's actually done. It's gone from a few cents to tens of thousands of dollars, not because of hype, but because people all over the world are waking up to a simple truth. You can't print freedom. Bitcoin isn't about getting rich quick. It's about opting out of a system designed to erode the value of your time, your energy, and your money. And whether it becomes the new gold standard, or just a permanent fixture in a decentralized future, one thing is certain: it's not going away. Not now, not ever. So, while your dollars melt in a bank account, Bitcoin quietly holds the line. It's not just code, it's a shield. And in a world that's lost its grip on value, that might be the most important asset of all. Asset 6. Luxury collectibles. Watches, art, rare cars. When paper money starts to lose its flavor, the world's wealthy don't panic. They pivot. They don't just move into stocks or real estate, they move into the rare, the real, the irreplaceable. Because when a currency inflates, when markets crash, when trust evaporates, there's always one category of asset that holds strong: luxury collectibles. The kind of items that carry history, scarcity, and emotional value so high, no spreadsheet can calculate it. Take Paul Newman's Rolex, for example, bought for a couple $100, worn, used, and nearly forgotten. Then, decades later, sold for $17.8 million. That's not a watch, that's a time-locked vault of value, and it's not an outlier. From vintage Ferraris to one-of-one paintings to unopened first editions of comic books, the market for high-quality collectibles has quietly exploded, because people are waking up to the truth. When everything is digital and mass-produced, rarity becomes power. Luxury assets don't follow the same rules as stocks or currencies. They don't get diluted. They don't tank because of an interest rate hike or a bad earnings call. They sit in safes, on walls, or in climate-controlled garages, quietly increasing in value while the outside world fights over financial noise. And while most people scoff and say, "That's just for rich people," here's the reality. The rich didn't buy these things because they were rich. They got rich because they understood what these things represented: value that doesn't vanish. Collectibles aren't just status symbols. They're strategic shields against a system that punishes cash and rewards those who understand scarcity. They're not for flipping, they're for preserving. They're assets you can touch, admire, and eventually pass down. In a world drowning in duplication, the rare becomes priceless. And the wealthy? They've known this for centuries. So the next time you see someone buying a vintage watch or restoring an old race car, don't just see the flex, see the fortress. That's not wasteful spending. It's long-term thinking disguised as beauty. Asset 7. Productive farmland and agriculture. In a world spinning with tech hype, digital coins, and algorithm-driven stocks, there's one ancient truth no crash, crisis, or currency collapse can erase. People still need to eat. No matter what the markets do, food remains non-negotiable. And the ground that grows it? That's not just dirt. That's one of the most recession-proof, inflation-resistant, quietly powerful assets on the planet: productive farmland. Farmland doesn't need a marketing campaign. It doesn't beg for investor attention. It just works. It grows. It produces. Crops, livestock, resources. Year after year, season after season. And while most people are busy checking stock tickers or crypto charts, some of the smartest capital on earth, like Bill Gates, is quietly scooping up farmland by the acre. Not because it's sexy, but because it's secure. This isn't just about profit, it's about control. The person who controls the food supply holds power far beyond their portfolio. And in times of scarcity, that power becomes priceless. When inflation kicks up, crop prices follow. When the economy falters, people still buy bread, milk, and vegetables. Land that feeds people doesn't go out of style. It doesn't become obsolete. It becomes essential. And unlike volatile markets, farmland is tangible. It's not a line on a screen or a token in a wallet. It's real earth under real skies, producing real value. It's an asset you can walk on, build on, and pass down for generations. It's wealth rooted in something civilization cannot function without: sustenance. While others chase the next speculative trend, owning productive farmland is like holding the source code of survival. It's not about overnight riches, it's about long-term resilience. Because when the dust settles, the digital fades, and the hype dies down, the person who owns the land that feeds the world won't be watching the chaos, they'll be harvesting from it. Asset 8. Yourself. Skills, education, reputation. This is the one nobody puts on a balance sheet. It doesn't come with a stock ticker. You can't insure it, digitize it, or hand it over to a broker. But it's the one asset that every millionaire, every founder, every titan of industry knows is more valuable than gold, stocks, or real estate. It's you, your mind, your skill set, your reputation. In a world where everything external can be lost in a flash, this is the one asset that can't be stolen, inflated away, or erased in a crash. You see, when markets collapse and currencies burn, most people panic. But those who've invested in themselves, they rebuild, they adapt, they rise. Because they've spent the time acquiring knowledge, mastering skills, and building a network that opens doors when the usual paths are blocked. This is why the rich keep learning. They don't treat education as something you finish. They treat it as fuel. Constant, ongoing, relentless. You can lose your job, you can lose your business, you can even lose everything you own. But if you've invested in your ability to think, solve, communicate, and lead, you'll recover faster than anyone else, because you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. The ability to create, to negotiate, to sell, to build, that's real leverage. And it doesn't sit in a vault. It sits between your ears. The problem is, most people overlook this asset. They chase external validation. They chase passive income before they've earned active mastery. But the irony? The people who end up with the freedom everyone wants are the ones who treated personal growth like a non-negotiable expense. So, while everyone else is stockpiling cash and hoping things don't fall apart, ask yourself a better question. What am I doing to make sure I don't fall apart? Because when the storm hits, it won't be your savings that save you. It'll be your mindset, your skill set, and your ability to turn dust into gold. In the end, you're not just the investor. You're the investment, and you always will be. So here's the truth nobody tells you. Saving money in a bank isn't security anymore. It's a slow surrender. Inflation eats it, the bank lends it out, and you're left clinging to numbers on a screen that mean less every year. But now you know there's a better way. There are smarter, safer, wealth-building assets that can protect your future and grow your freedom, if you're bold enough to take that first step. Whether it's government bonds, real estate, gold, Bitcoin, collectibles, farmland, building a business, or investing in yourself, these aren't just investments. They're exits from the system that was never built to make you wealthy. Because the real game, it's not about working harder. It's about placing your money where it can work harder than you ever could. The rich don't save cash. They store value, they build cash flow, they protect their time, and they multiply their choices. So let me ask you, which of these 8 assets are you going to take seriously? Which one made you stop and think, I need to start that today? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear it. Write this: I will invest in your asset of choice. When I see your comment, I'll heart it. Because every time someone steps out of the old system and into a smarter strategy, we all win. And if this video helped you think differently, even just a little, take 2 seconds to like it. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join the movement. We're building a smarter generation, one asset at a time. And if you watch this video to the very end, write in the comments, I watched to the end, my mind is open. I'll heart that too, because you're not just a viewer, you're a future asset builder. Thanks for being here. Now, go do what the banks hope you never figure out.